Boyd and Gray law firm partner Michael Buschbacher, who just co-wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal claiming that when it comes to dust, dirt, and soot, EVs could be worse than gas-powered vehicles. He joins us now. Michael, great to have you on the program. Here's my issue with this. You've got a lot of government entities using junk science, bogus science, to back up quote-unquote research that tells us we've got to do things like adopt EVs. How bad is the junk science problem in this whole environmental movement right now?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, what we explained in the op-ed is just one of many problems that's out there. What they've done with particulate emissions, which you mentioned earlier, is they've assumed that a comparable EV and a comparable internal combustion engine vehicle are going to have the same amount of particulate matter emissions. And that's just not true. Today's cars are so clean that almost all of the particulate matter comes from tire wear. And electric vehicles are about 15 to 30% heavier than a comparable conventional vehicle. And so studies have shown that the particulate matter from that tire wear and just net particulate matter in general is significantly higher for EVs. But when California and EPA look at it, they treat them the same. And as we explained, that's just wrong. And it's just one of, as you point out, many ways in which the thumb gets put on the scale to force electrification.
Michael, the problem that I have with this is I think about science in general. It reminds me of COVID, right? They told us to follow the science, and we masked up, and we kept our kids at home, and we stayed in our apartments, and we didn't want to spend money or go out and shut our economy down for roughly, a year and a half at least before things started to improve. All that science was bogus. And so to the point that you're making here, they take these numbers and they skew them to make studies appear a certain way. I mean, I would take a step back from this and say, I'm not even sure that climate change is caused necessarily or specifically the way they argue that it is by fossil fuels, but that...
Just because an electric car doesn't have a tailpipe doesn't really mean it is a zero-emission vehicle. As it turns out, most of the particulate matter released by a vehicle doesn't come from the tailpipe at all. It is released by tire wear. And both EVs and regular vehicles have that in common. As you know, cars are heavy. As their tires rub against the road, they degrade. This leads to the release of tiny and often toxic particles. According to measurements by an emission analytics firm, in gasoline cars, airborne tire wear emissions are 400 times greater than direct exhaust particulate emissions. So the tailpipe is not to blame. Coming to electric vehicles, generating the electricity that powers them creates particulate pollution. Their tires are made from petroleum. They weigh far more than gasoline-powered cars, 15 to 30% to be specific. So their tires degrade faster and release even more particulate matter. How much more? Up to 1,850 times more than that of exhaust. Now experts are counting on EV makers to reduce the weight of their cars. But how would that be possible? As manufacturers work to develop better EVs, the battery size is only expected to increase.
It is now clear that environment safety and carbon emission is definitely not the objective why the elites are pushing electric vehicles. It is in fact slavery. The satanic elites wants us to be their slaves. In the upcoming Pax Judaica, the Satanists and Zionists want everything under their control, even the vehicles of the masses. As the EVs are based on central database software, and moreover it has a very limited run range or mileage, before charging it again so the elites could track every move of every citizen. This is the reason they have planned a complete ban on petrol, gas or diesel vehicles in the upcoming years. We are living in the era of Dajjal the Antichrist, and he is the master of deception. Therefore we need to be very thorough about our every purchase and every move.